I'm Greg Tepper. That's Greg Powers. And this is This Week
in Cruton.
This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers of Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter, GPowersScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter at Next Level D1. See his fine work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. And, of course, this is brought to you by our good chicken friends at Chicken Express. And I have an announcement to make. Friday, before I did my stuff at Bally, like for lunch, I stopped at Chicken E.
Oh, yeah.
And I got the mini poppers.
Nice.
And Greg Powers, you know how much I hate saying this. You were exactly right.
They are delicious.
The mini powers are banging.
Okay, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to peel back the curtain. I haven't had them, so I obviously need to go get them.
He's not lying.
It's a different take on the mini popper too. It's not like your traditional.
No, it was like I
different.
didn't know what I was getting into, and then I was like so glad I got into it.
Speaking of watch-alongs, we should get Chicken E for a watch-along one time.
Yeah.
Oh man, that'd be good. Chicken E. It's This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers of Next Level Athlete. A lot to get to here in the Mr. Texas, or rather, coming up here at the back half of the show, the Mr. Texas Football Player of the Year 100 player watch list. A few of those players will be featured here on This Week in Recruiting. One of the guys we're featuring here, the prospect on the rise, McKinney 2022 defensive back Damion Youngblood. Damion Youngblood was a guy who, in week one, certainly made a name for himself. He's a Louisiana commit. He had 2 pass breakups and an interception, and he caught a touchdown in their win over Springdale, Arkansas, Harbert. A fantastic game for Damion Youngblood. And you think this could be a guy that he's a Louisiana commit for now, but maybe making a bigger name for himself?
Yeah, this is a guy who had a really outstanding week one game and that 35-28 victory. And for those of you who don't know, Springdale, Harbert,
I don't know.
Whatever.
They're pretty good. You know,
Yeah.
They're a team that's known in the Springdale area, being one of the old stomping grounds I used to have to cover back in the day. They were always a very talented team putting out Division I athletes. So this is a team that came into Texas with expectations to win that game, and Youngblood helped shut them down alongside a few other talented players on that McKinney roster. But this is one to keep an eye on. He's going to be taking an unofficial visit, it looks like, to Texas for game number 1. Gives him the chance to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And look for a little bit more on, this guy and other guys from that game from Guy Frazier, who was our correspondent that attended it this weekend. But Youngblood's going to take his unofficial visit to Texas, and he'll be able to see Louisiana and Texas at the same time. And Texas has started to show some interest, and of course, that's reciprocated with the invitation to come to the game.
Yeah, and that's, I think it's important to remember, because I know for us, we are always very much looking for, especially once we get some tape, we're kind of taking it into context and understanding, okay, if a player, let's put it this way, if like a Highland Park player really stood out last week against South Lake Carroll, we know it's like, oh, okay, that really matters. And so when you're playing a team from out of state like Springdale Harbert, it's hard to necessarily grasp exactly what this means, but just know that this is one of the premier teams in Arkansas. And so
Right.
To do this against a team like that, it is the equivalent of doing it against a good team from Texas, which is why I think people are starting to sit up and pay attention. They understand that this isn't against some slapdash team thrown together at the last minute. This is a good team here.
I think this segues into a very good point to be made about the season this year, too, because we came through a pandemic year, had limited evaluation period. Some of these guys who are committed to a school like Louisiana are going to continue to get looks from the big dogs, right? They're going to continue to try to flesh out their class, get full 25-man rosters. Transfer portal is always a factor now. But as guys step up and have strong seasons, what doors will be open for them? And this is a guy that just, to keep an eye on. The McKinney has running back Brian Jackson, a number of talented younger guys on that roster, but the guy who stood out in person was Youngblood. So that's something that you should take note of.
Most certainly. Let's move on to our Commit of the Week. Our Commit of the Week, we're going small school. We're going to Marlin, Texas, which is a team that you should be paying attention to because they got some dudes. One of those dudes is their defensive tackle, Jeray Bledsoe, who committed this week to Texas. He had offers from Alabama, A&M, TCU, Baylor. He checks in at number 38 in the DCTF Hot 100. And this is a guy who maybe a little bit raw, but boy, howdy, the tools there are why everybody in the nation is after him.
Yeah, no doubt. He's a 6'4", 270-pounder who rushed for over 1,200 yards and 21 touchdowns as a junior. So, I mean, that kind of tells you what you need to know about his potential upside. And just watching him play up front, he's a guy who, I could categorize as relentless in his pursuit of the football. And give credit to this young man as well. He played for Bremond last year. He's now playing at Marlin. Had to play on both sides of the football, rushed for over 1,200 yards, collected over 100 tackles, was a force on both sides of the football. And it's not easy as a big man to do that consistently, and he showed good conditioning, and he was just dominant at his level last season, and that's what you want to see. Is there going to be some transition from small-town high school football to, the bright lights of the college game in Austin? I think so, yes, but he has all of the tools that you're looking for to be an impact player, and Texas is doing a pretty bang-up job along the defensive front. If there's something that we've been critical here in the recent years, the Tom Herman era, the Charlie Strong era, it was they just didn't seem to have those guys on the defensive line to be in the national discussion, right? There's been one-offs. There's been some really good players up front, but they haven't put together the squad that you need on the defensive front to compete for a national championship, to be in the Big 12 championship conversation every year. And it looks like this is a priority right now for this staff, and it's starting to pay dividends. I think they got 6 D-line commitments now, and all of them are pretty good.
Yeah, that's obviously a place where they're putting a lot of resources right now, is trying to shore up that defensive line, especially if there is a move to the SEC on the horizon, which it will be at least in 2025. But this is obviously a huge man. I love giving the ball to number 99.
Isn't that cool?
It just makes me really happy.
Big man touchdowns make you want to rate him higher.
Yeah,
He's
actually,
so-
you know what? That's it. Make him a 6-star. That's it. That's it. Him and Doug Brooks, they're 6 stars now.
That's it.
What we're going to do. We're talking this week in recruiting with Greg Powers, Next Level Athlete here on Texas Football Today. Get involved with the conversation, hashtag TF Today. Let's go to our underclassmen of the week. Our underclassmen of the week, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this school name right, but the quarterback at South Lake
Carroll.
South Lake Carroll quarterback Caden Anderson, who of course took over when Quinn Ewers reclassified, and he played Highland Park in the opener, and boy howdy, he looked sharp. I don't think it seemed like as the game went on, they opened up the playbook a little bit more for him and let him make some more plays and gave him a little bit more latitude out there. I think in the early going, it was a pretty conservative play calling there from the South Lake Carroll staff. But when he was able to let it loose, Caden Anderson certainly impressed. 16 of 24, 261, and 4 touchdowns.
You know what? I was torn. Watch this game live, and Owen Allen, 2023 running back, had
Dude, that kid rules.
He really does.
I'm gonna tweet that. I'm doing a long list of players who
He's a
rule
rule.
this year. Owen Allen rules.
And he's been ruling for a while.
So I was torn, and you want to know what made the call really easy is we've got an interview coming with Owen Allen, so we didn't make him the underclassman of the week. We made his teammate and close friend, Caden, the underclassman of the week, and here's why. He had the tough assignment of having to fill in for Quinn Ewers, who went on to play college football a year early. Remarkable story in and of itself. But everybody was going to be watching this young man play under center, and everybody's eyes were on this game. And what they did is they kind of dominated a Highland Park team in their home away from home at AT&T Stadium. I've watched a lot of South Lake Carroll games in AT&T. I've watched a lot of Highland Park games in AT&T, and Highland Park is probably the toughest team to beat there. It really, truly is a home field advantage for them there by all accounts. And they were able to go in and ride this guy's and the rushing talents of Owen Allen to a big victory in week 1. It was kind of a runaway thing with them, and large part due to this young quarterback's play. And now I think colleges are going to start to take note as well. 6'4", 210 pounds, has the tools you're looking for, so look for him to start to pick up some major attention soon.
Yes, I think that if you don't know the name Caden Anderson, it's
You're going to learn it real fast.
Like, Caden Anderson is one of those things like we were telling you, hey, he's going to step in and he's going to be fine. The offense is not going to fall off a cliff. Now there's no excuse not to know his name. Caden Anderson, certainly a name to know there at South Lake Carroll. Finally, let's round it all out with our Recruit of the Week.
Who decided to pop off on Saturday night.
Our Recruit of the Week is Bridgeland 2022 quarterback Connor Wigman. 54-14 win over Klein Kane. This was on ESPN, one of the ESPN networks. He's up for Mr. Texas Football Player of the Week because he completed 23 of 33 for 358 and 5 touchdowns. He also ran for 104 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he caught a 17-yard touchdown pass. Connor Wigman, the Texas A&M commit. I'm not a recruiting analyst like you are, but I think he's pretty good.
Well, it just worked out really well this week. We have Jason Howell, TexAg senior recruiting analyst. And he's going to talk a little bit about Connor in the upcoming interview. And then this dude just had an amazing game. And one thing that I love about Connor Wigman's game is does he not, like, even though he's athletic, he's a two-sport star at Cypress Bridgeland. He's a great baseball player. But is he not like a throwback type of guy to you? Like, he just looking at his highlights, he just seems – like he screams, I'm just trying Bart Starr, or some, you know what I mean? Like you just see like some old school type.
He's an old school quarterback,
yeah,
but he can run.
Yeah,
you
but
know
he runs. That's
he always looks like he's having a blast too out there.
He's a blue collar type of quarterback that plays with new age style. You know, he brings the best of what we would consider maybe both worlds into one package. And to see him get started off with a strong game in game number 1, the future is bright in College Station. The future is bright in College Station, and Connor Wigman's going to be a whole lot of fun to watch.
Well,
this year.
and let me just, I'm going to put you on the spot here. And this is a jerk thing to do.
Okay.
I recognize that, but you and I both know that I'm a jerk.
Yes.
Right now, if you go to texasfootball.com/recruiting, and I want to make sure I get this right. If you go to texasfootball.com/recruiting, a great website, as I vamp, I believe there are 3 5-star prospects in the class of 2020. In the class of 2022, we have Denver Harris from Galena Park North Shore, we have Amari Abor from Duncanville, and we have Calvin Banks Jr. from Humble Summer Creek.
Yep.
That means, and I know how this works, there are 5 5-stars every year.
Correct.
Right? Or up to 5. I guess
up to 5. We have a disclaimer. In 2021, there was 6 because Quinn Ewers reclassified to 2021.
So there's 2 more spots for 5 stars. Is Wigman in that conversation?
I think so. I mean, I think you have to look at everybody this year. And again, we have to go back to this is an abnormal year. There wasn't the same amount of camps. There wasn't the same amount of evaluation. We're just now getting to look at these guys and show what they can do on tape. This is the tape that's going to matter, I think, the most when it comes to recruiting rankings is the senior tape. A lot of times when you're evaluating these guys, you go strongly off of the junior year. And then, you know, the evaluation period heading into the senior year is almost 90% of the determining factor because your rankings have to be shored up by October, right? Because media starts to come out on signing classes in December, and if you want to publicize your rankings, write magazines about them, then you have to have your rankings finalized.
Who would do that?
You have to have your rankings finalized in October. So, you know, each and every game we're watching as much as we can. And number 15 in the state right now, the number 2 quarterback in the state, I think he is a prospect that we should consider for 5-star status. And I would go ahead and say anybody in that top 25, you're probably eligible.
A guy who's always eligible for 5-star status.
Oh,
Greg Powers, the next level athlete.
Smooth.
Follow him on Twitter at GPowerScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter, Next Level D1. See his fine work at texasfootball.com/recruiting. Stick around because I need you to introduce Jason Howell. We are Texas Football Today. We're here every weekday at noon on texasfootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at TCTF, like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/Dave Campbell's, and of course, see us at texasfootball.com. Texasfootball.com is where you can find complete coverage of high school football, college football, and recruiting all across the Lone Star State. Hope you'll consider becoming a Dave Campbell's Texas Football Insider at texasfootball.com/subscribe. That is our subscription package. 2 magazines, a year's worth of exclusive online content at texasfootball.com. If you become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football Insider. texasfootball.com/subscribe. Hey, thanks for watching this clip here on YouTube. If you like this kind of stuff and you want more of it, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And remember, you can watch us live every weekday at noon at texasfootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, or here on YouTube. And if you want more of the best coverage of football in the state of Texas, check out texasfootball.com and become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football Insider at texasfootball.com/subscribe.